Birmingham, Alabama, a city forged in fire, a city built on iron and steel. At its heart stood Sloss furnaces, a monument to industrial might. From 1882, Sloss churned out molten iron, fueling America's growth. The furnaces roared. Day and night, men toiled tirelessly, their sweat mingling with the soot and grime. Sloss was a place of relentless labor. It was a place of danger. And as the years passed, whispers began. Whispers of something sinister lurking in the shadows. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of coal smoke and something else, something ancient, something uneasy, the clang of metal, the hiss of steam. These were the sounds of industry, but to some, they sounded like the tortured cries of the damned. For Sloss furnaces held a dark secret, a past stained with tragedy, a past that refused to stay buried. Among the workers at Sloss, one man instilled fear and dread. His name was Slag, a foreman with a heart as black as the coal that fueled the furnaces. Slag ruled with an iron fist. He cared little for the safety of his men. Accidents were common, and sometimes, it seemed, Slag even took pleasure in the suffering of others. He pushed his men to their limits, demanding more speed, more production. He was a tyrant, feared by all. Stories circulated about Slag's cruelty. Men spoke in hushed tones of his violent temper and his utter disregard for human life. Some whispered that he practiced dark magic, drawing power from the fiery depths of the furnaces themselves. Whether true or not, the legend of Slag grew with each passing year. His name became synonymous with fear and suffering, and as the years turned into decades, it became clear that Slag's reign of terror would have deadly consequences. One fateful night, as the furnaces roared, tragedy struck. Slag, intoxicated by power and his own sense of invincibility, pushed the workers too far. The men, exhausted and fearing for their lives, refused to obey. Enraged, Slag lashed out, his fury knowing no bounds. He stormed onto the furnace floor, determined to make an example of those who dared defy him. But his arrogance would be his undoing. As Slag berated the workers, he stumbled too close to the edge of the molten iron pit. With a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the cavernous space, he lost his balance and plunged into the fiery depths. The workers watched in horror as Slag disappeared beneath the molten metal, his cries silenced by the inferno. His reign of terror was over, but the horror was far from over. Slag's death was only the beginning. In the aftermath of Slag's demise, a palpable sense of dread settled over Sloss furnaces. The workers whispered of strange occurrences. Tools moved on their own. Shadows danced in the flickering light of the furnaces. And then there were the voices. Disembodied whispers carried on the hot breath of the furnaces. Some claimed to hear Slag's voice, still barking orders from beyond the grave. The stories spread beyond the furnace walls. Locals spoke of strange lights emanating from Sloss at night. Security guards reported hearing footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Doors slammed shut on their own, and the air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread. Something was amiss at Sloss furnaces, something that defied explanation. As the years passed, the stories of Sloss furnaces became more frequent, more chilling. People claimed to have seen a hulking figure wandering the grounds at night, a figure resembling the descriptions of Slag. His eyes glowed with an infernal light, they said, and his hands, forever scarred by the molten iron, dripped with something that looked eerily like blood. One night, a group of teenagers dared to venture into the abandoned furnaces. They were seeking thrills, a brush with the unknown. They found it. As they explored the darkened corridors, they heard a guttural growl echoing from the depths of the furnaces. Then they saw him, a towering figure silhouetted against the moonlight. The teenagers fled in terror, their screams echoing through the night. They had seen Slag, or at least his vengeful spirit. Section 6. A symphony of shadows, the haunting sounds of Sloss. The haunting of Sloss furnaces wasn't just visual, it was auditory. It was a symphony of shadows. Visitors and workers alike reported hearing the clanging of metal, the hiss of steam, even when the furnaces were cold and silent. Some heard the screams of men, cries of pain and terror echoing from the depths of the earth. It was as if the very walls of Sloss were imbued with the suffering that had transpired within. Paranormal investigators set up their equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the unexplained. They were not disappointed. EVP recordings revealed disembodied voices whispering menacingly. The sounds of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed through the empty corridors. And then there were the screams, blood-curdling screams that sent chills down the spines of even the most hardened skeptics. Section 7. Beyond the grave paranormal investigations at Sloss furnaces. Drawn by the chilling tales and the sheer intensity of the paranormal activity, paranormal investigators from across the country have descended upon Sloss furnaces. Armed with EMF readers, thermal cameras, and EVP recorders, they sought to document the unexplained, and document it they did. EMF spikes indicated sudden fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, often associated with ghostly apparitions. Thermal cameras captured cold spots, areas where the temperature plummeted inexplicably. But it was the EVP recordings that truly sent shivers down their spines. Whispered threats, guttural growls, and blood-curdling screams. The voices seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, filled with anger, pain, and a desperate need to be heard. The evidence was undeniable. Sloss Furnaces was a hotbed of paranormal activity. Section 8. A city gripped by fear, the legacy of Slag's ghost. The legend of Slag and the haunting of Sloss Furnaces have become deeply ingrained in the fabric of Birmingham's history and folklore. Locals speak of the haunted furnaces with a mixture of fear and fascination. Some avoid the site altogether, unwilling to risk an encounter with the unknown. Others are drawn to it, seeking a glimpse of the supernatural, a brush with the other side. The stories of Sloss Furnaces serve as a chilling reminder that some things cannot be explained by logic or reason. They tap into our primal fears, our fascination with the unknown, and the unsettling possibility that death may not be the end, and so the legend of Slag lives on, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires and late-night gatherings, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the shadows of even the most ordinary places. Section 9. A haunted legacy, Sloss Furnaces today. Today, Sloss Furnaces stands as a testament to Birmingham's industrial past, but it is also a site of pilgrimage for those seeking a glimpse of the paranormal. The furnaces have been transformed into a national historic landmark, a museum dedicated to preserving its history. But the spirits of the past linger. Visitors can take guided tours, exploring the darkened corridors and cavernous workspaces where Slag once ruled with an iron fist. At night, the site transforms into a haven for paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost hunts are conducted regularly, drawing those brave enough to confront the unknown. And the stories continue, whispers of shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and unexplained phenomena. Sloss Furnaces remains a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems to thin, a chilling reminder that some secrets refuse to stay buried.